So we're going to talk about cooktops over ovens. When you're looking at remodeling a smaller space, you don't have the room to do a wall oven. Most instances, what you've got in a smaller kitchen is a microwave up here with a hood, and you've got a range below it. And we're seeing more people move away from the over-the-range microwave. Microwaves aren't as popular, at least I feel like they're not as popular as they once were. People would rather have a better ventilation system. Even if it's recirculating, you can get a nice hood with better grease filters, larger charcoal filters. So even if it's not vented to the outside, you're getting the benefits of having a real hood instead of a microwave hood, which is mostly a microwave with kind of a vent system attached to it. Now, on the range side of things, most of your ordinary ranges, you've got your controls back here. You've got, whatever your gas, electric, induction cooking surface, and then you've got your oven down here. This is a much nicer, sleeker look. You also have the option of going to a potentially wider cooking surface. So here you're looking at a 30-inch oven with a 36-inch cooktop and hood above. Now, what this does is it makes it so that in a smaller space, you've got these uninterrupted lines, right? Your countertop lines are, consistent. You've got your backsplash on your countertop terminating. You've got that line kind of going. And then, of course, down below, you've got the lines in the cabinetry are relatively uninterrupted. Your toe kick is uninterrupted. So this is a very sleek look. However, when you start looking at the mechanics of, installing one product over the other, there are a couple of things that you have to be aware of. You're doing an electric range. Well, normally you would just run one 40 or 50 amp line to that electric range. In this case, we've got 50 amps run to just the cooktop, and then we have a separate 30 amp 240 line run to the oven. So you would have to bring in an extra line of power. When you're buying your countertop, if you want this kind of seamless look, you may be paying for 3 extra linear feet of stone that you're really just going to cut out for the cooktop. Now, you could also just seam in some pieces and maybe save a little money depending on your fabricator and what they're willing to do. When we look at the cabinet or the carcass that's going to house that oven, that's also an additional expense. So, you've got the cabinet cost, potentially, additional countertop fabrication, material costs, and then you've got your extra, you've either got to have a gas line run in for the cooktop and then a separate electric line, or you have to have 2 electric lines. So all of that for this cleaner look. Now, when we start looking at the specifications of the cooktop, when we look at the specifications of the oven, in some cases, the manufacturer will give you a diagram or a document that will show how those 2 pieces can nest together. Generally, that's in a perfect world. It assumes that the countertop is a certain thickness. It assumes that the toe kick is a certain height. And if all of those things line up, those 2 pieces can be nested together. Now, more often than not, you get it there, you'll find that if the hole for the cooktop wasn't properly lined up, or if the toe kicks, instead of 4 inches, let's say we're 4.5-inch toe kicks, a thinner countertop material, all of those things can get you in a situation where the cooktop is now not sitting flush to the countertop. We generally recommend not buying a cabinet for the oven. It's almost better just to fabricate a base for the oven and then go in and create filler, take filler material for the cabinetry to get, really just to cover that gap between the top of the oven and the countertop. And, if you need it, a little bit on either side. Now, what that does is it allows you to adjust the height of the oven so that if you do run into problems, depending on, again, the thickness of the countertop and how the rest of the cabinetry is situated, that would allow you to really customize the height of the toe kick in order to do that. The other thing that you want to be aware of is that this manufacturer has they have an electrical line, a pigtail coming out of the bottom of the cooktop in a specific location. Now, because they know that this is a possible installation situation, they've made an accommodation in the back of the oven's sheet metal to make it so the way that conduit comes out, that it terminates in a way that it's not going to cause the cooktop to sit up in the back right corner. If I were to take another manufacturer's cooktop and try to install it over this oven, the Wolf oven will probably not have an accommodation in the sheet metal for that cooktop's either gas regulator or the pigtail coming out. And again, we run into this situation. So general rule of thumb is do not mix manufacturers between the cooktop and the oven. Try to keep them the same. Now, you could say, I want to have a GE Monogram oven and a GE Profile cooktop, or a cafe oven and a GE Monogram cooktop. Those mechanicals, because the factory is sharing specifications across their lines, you can kind of intermingle like that. You can do the same thing with KitchenAid and Genair. You can do the same thing with Bosch and Thermador in most cases. Outside of the manufacturer's different lines, do not mix and match. If you really, really, really want to have one brand of oven and another brand of cooktop and they're not designed to work together, then what you want to consider doing is building up your countertop. So essentially you would veneer the countertop so that instead of it being, whatever it is normally, an inch and a half, you might make that 3 inches to hold the depth of the cooktop so that it's not going to interfere with the oven in any way whatsoever. So that's it. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you guys next time. Please like and subscribe.